Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, season's greetings, joy through the season, and thank you. And I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season with some festivities going on and enjoying life. Hey, I figured we'd do something fun for the season, and we're going to look at how other countries and cultures celebrate Christmases. So we're just going to go through a few of them. So let's get started. How does Mexico celebrate Christmas with their traditions? Well, Mexico is very similar to Spain, and they share some very close cultural ties, including Catholicism and Christianity. So their Christmas primarily focuses on the Holy Family and the birth of Christ. So the reason for the season. But they focus on the family as a dynamic, and they have a ceremony or a tradition called La Pasado. And I do not speak Spanish. If I'm saying that wrong, forgive me. But La Pasado is a reenactment of the Holy Family in their search and quest for a place to stay for the Christ child to be born. And during this, they go from house to house and will knock on doors, and neighbors will greet them, and it's a reenactment. So it's pretty cool. But there is no Santa Claus. The only red in their season is the poinsettia, which is their primary flower for the season. So that's Mexico. That kind of sums up Spain as well. Let's look at other Christmas traditions. Germany celebrates 2 days of Christmas, generally the 24th, or January the 25th and 26th. Sometimes it's on the 24th with a meal with the family, but my understanding is it's usually on the 25th and 26th. And one of the most common gifts is something that Americans would absolutely love, which is gift vouchers and money. So I read that that's one of the most popular gifts during that time of year. One of those traditions was attacked this year in 2024. And I want to give out our sincere sorrow and our condolences for what has occurred at your most blessed time and one of the most festive times. So I hope you understand that Americans do stand with you, and we're sorry for your tragedy. Germans celebrate Christmas with some traditions of caroling, playing Christmas tunes quite frequently, and they have Christmas markets. And the Christmas markets carry on traditional foods, beverages, and items such as that. And of course, it is a very common theme and one of the mainstays of the German society for their traditions. They also like lights, lots of lights. Merry Christmas for Germany. American Christmas. We get together, we eat meals with our family, we complain about our family, we fight with our family, we give socks out to each other and stuff like that, clothes that you traditionally don't want, things like that. So traditional Christmas, yeah. Traditional Christmas in America is meals whenever you can get the family together. So you try to have a meal on Christmas or Christmas Eve, and you celebrate Christmas on Christmas Day. It is generally, a time for religious reflection, birth of Christ, and that's the way it is in a lot of these countries that I'm talking about. But for me, Christmas is celebration of His birth, and it does include in a great deal of days leading up to Christmas. You have Advent, and not that other countries don't have this either, because they do, but we have Advent in 4 weeks preparation to think about the Christmas time and what occurs, and to join together with family and enjoy that day. That our Christmas time Santa Claus, if you're good, he gives you gifts. If you're bad, you're on the naughty list. You have St. Nicholas, also known as Santa Claus. He cruises around in a sleigh with 8 reindeer. I can't make it up. And they celebrate by handing out gifts to kids when they're good. And those gifts are made in the North Pole by elves. So yeah, it's pretty elaborate traditions for a typical American thoughts regarding Christmas time. You do have Santa Claus, and he's put a lump of coal in your stocking if you're bad, or he won't give you gifts. But he won't eat you. And, you know, that's a plus. That's a bonus. It's a bonus. Icelandic Christmas traditions. Iceland is quite different. They have 13 days of Christmas. Each day is celebrated as, I believe they call them, the Yule lads. And the Yule lads were the sons of Ogres Graila. And each day, these various traditions are carried out. And I believe they're representations of these sons of Ogres Graila. Now, there's something else that Ogres Graila has, which is a Yule cat. This thing is not so cool. The Yule cat is a vicious cat that lurks the countrysides, and it eats you if you don't get new clothes by the 24th. Or in their case, Christmas Eve, which would be January 6th. So if you don't get clothes, the Yule cat eats you. So there's the traditional folklore behind that is it was an encouragement for farmers to harvest the wool and to process the wool and get it into clothing before Christmas Eve. So that's where it's thought to come from as far as the tradition. But having a Yuletime cat that wanders the countryside and eats you, that's really different. And I have a tradition of putting a shoe in the window. Now somebody told me that, and I was like, what? They said they put a shoe in the window. If you know the meaning, leave it in the comments, because I'd like to know that also. Russian Christmas. Russian Christmas celebrated on January 7th, according to the Julian calendar. And there is traditions leading up to the Russian Christmas. It's a traditional celebration of Jesus' birth. And with that, there is 40 days of fasting encouraged prior to Christmas. Now, whether or not that fasting is left over and encouraged from the Joseph Stalin days or not, I'm not sure. But I know that on Christmas Eve, which is January 6th, they look up, and when they see the first star in the sky, they celebrate with a meal in representation of the star that led the wise men to Jesus' manger. Also, on New Year's Eve in Russia, Grandfather Frost visits. So there's no Santa Claus, but Grandfather Frost visits, and with Grandfather Frost, he brings presents. So that happens on New Year's Eve. So that's a nice tradition. Sometimes a snow maiden comes with him. To give you an idea how cold it is today, I'm operating this with one hand and the other's ungloved. And my hand is so cold that I'm having trouble getting my screen to react to my touch. So it's pretty cold out here. And the more I think about traditions of American Christmas, the more frightening it gets. Did you know that Americans also have a thing called Elf on a Shelf? Now listen to this frightening concept. I have no idea where Elf on a Shelf started, when it started. It was something that was relatively new to me to be learning about. But Elf on the Shelf is a elf, and this elf usually gets dressed up in different clothing. It's a very tiny doll. So they take it and the families dress it up, and then they move it around at night. So they position it in different various pranks and different scenarios, and do that every night leading up to Christmas. Now, no idea where that came from. Frightening to think that during the night there's this creepy little elf guy strolling around and doing his thing. And some of the examples of some of the things people do. I've seen him take powdered sugar, scatter powdered sugar on a flat surface, put the elf down, make it look like he was doing angels in the snow. I've seen him make snowballs and look like he was having a snowball fight. Years ago, my wife did this, and I believe I took the elf and I tied his feet and hands together and put him on the railroad tracks that went around the train. So that's my, appreciation for Elf on the Shelf. One of my favorites right now coming up, Krampus. So Krampus is a horned demon, half goat, and fangs. It's vicious, and he walks about and he eats children that misbehave. There's still Santa Claus, but as opposed to when you're naughty or nice and you're just naughty, you don't get gifts because you're naughty or you get coal in your stocking. No, not with Krampus. You get eaten. That's all there is to it. Which I have to say, you're misbehaving, so there's consequences to misbehaving. In this case, it's eating. Where if you look at the Icelandic tradition of getting eaten by a cat just because you didn't get new clothes, that kind of sucks. But, it is what it is. What else is shaking with Krampus? Well, the guy's got some fangs. He's usually wearing children's skin or animal skin that he's stitched together. He's actually a traveling companion with St. Nicholas, but he's the devilish one and travels with him. He has sometimes carved wooden mask, and he is absolutely frightening. So Krampus is frightening. And my wife and I want to go to the Krampus festival that they have each year in Norway, and we sincerely want to go and enjoy this at least once. It has to be like a bucket list thing. But it looks like a really good time. Pretty cool music going on at the same time, and parades of Krampuses. How about another tradition from Poland? So this is just a couple interesting traditions from Poland. And once again, Poland is similar to other Eastern European countries in that they do not eat a big meal until they see the first star of Christmas Eve. They usually have a midnight mass. When they see that star, they have a large meal. Their meal will consist of 12 courses in accordance with the 12 apostles. So it's symbolic. Another Polish tradition or Polish belief is that animals can speak at midnight, and that is to welcome Christ Jesus into the world. Another tradition yet, leaving an empty chair at the dinner table. And that may go back to pagan. And the pagan practice was to have a meal once a year at the big feast. And of course, this is not a representation of the birth of Jesus, but the pagans would have a large meal, celebration. And they'd always leave an empty chair. They'd sit down and have their meal. When they were done having their meal, they would get up, depart, and they would leave all the food on the table so that all the people who had passed away during the year may go and partake in a little bit of food before they go on to the forever world. So that particular belief may have led to the empty chair, but there's also, of course, some additional beliefs. Some of them go back to World War II times, where family were missing loved ones. Loved ones were paraded off, whenever wartime hit. Some went to Poland and concentration camps in Poland. Some were sent away to Germany. Other ones went to Russia. And the belief in that is that they leave a chair so that that person can come back, and that will always be a seat available for them. Also tradition, of course, that the Polish people are very welcoming, and therefore they leave an empty chair so that if a guest should come along, they can easily invite that guest into the home to partake in the meal as well. So, Ukrainian Christmas. Slava Ukraine. Ukrainian Christmas switched over in 2023. It went from being a traditional Orthodox Christmas, which is the celebration such as Russia, to a December 25th date of Christmas, and it still has some Orthodox traditions carrying over from before, but they're mixing it in now with Western traditions. Let's do Krampus revisit. I'm not sure that I can ever get over Krampus. I don't feel that I can do it justice by just reading the online descriptions. So Krampus is Old German for claw, and it seems terribly accurate. So I've written up a little bit of what I imagine this Krampus looks like and the behaviors with him. And I'm thinking that this is going to hit a little harder and make a little more sense when you actually hear it. Krampus is a horribly grotesque, horned, split-forked tongue, red tongue with saliva dripping blood at the corners of his jaws, sharp teeth with several broken off and uneven but still frighteningly sharp, cutting into the soft flesh. And I imagine that Krampus clamps upon the most tender areas, the back of the underarms, the flesh upon the cheeks, and he bites deep, knowing that he wants only to cause extreme pain and misery, unending misery. Krampus punishes children by shackling them in iron cuffs. Imagine a big, old, rusty set of heavy chains, the weight that the child could barely move, but Krampus will not let them rest. He pushes them onward, making them bear the burden of these enormous irons. They're cutting into the tiny wrists with the sharp edges that slice. The pain that won't let up, and when there's a pause in the pushing to pull off these shackles, he beats them with branches that are covered with thorns. Thorns that break onto their delicate, soft skin. Yet, when he withdraws that branch, it still has thorns left. There's no getting away from the sharp bite into their skin, beating them with sticks, and there's no end. If he doesn't choose to eat the children outright, he'll continue these steps until they're tenderized. Then he'll feast upon them in a hedonistic delight with pleasure, intoxicated with their pain, titillated by the memories of their cries, their screams, for their respite will not come. I believe this captures the thoughts and feelings of who and what Krampus truly is. So we've covered a bunch of different traditions from various countries and some cultures, and thank you for joining me. Merry Christmas, and I hope that you have glad tidings into the new year. Thank you for watching Timber Adventures, and like, subscribe, follow, share, but most of all, take care of yourselves into the new year, and God bless.